Commander Fox, one of the most controversial figures in the Grand Army of the Republic, serves as a focal point for discussions about the Coruscant Guard and their often brutal methods of maintaining order. As the leader of the elite Coruscant Guard, Fox wielded authority with precision and a stern sense of duty, yet this authority often crossed into territories of fear and oppression. His character and actions, along with those of the Guard, showcase the moral complexities and stark realities of war, especially within the heart of the galaxy, where political power and public order were paramount. The Coruscant Guard was a unique unit within the Republic's military structure. Unlike the clone troopers who fought on the front lines against the separatist forces, the Guard's primary mission was to uphold law and order within the Republic's capital. This task included protecting key political figures, safeguarding vital institutions, and dealing with insurgents or criminal organizations. However, in practice, the Guard often found itself embroiled in morally gray operations, where the line between maintaining order and imposing tyranny blurred. Fox was a reflection of the environment in which he operated. His demeanor was shaped not just by his genetic predisposition as a clone, but also by the immense pressures of maintaining peace in a city planet teeming with political intrigue, crime, and unrest. His leadership style was uncompromising, marked by swift and often ruthless decision-making. Under his command, the Coruscant Guard developed a reputation for efficiency, but also for a level of harshness that many deemed excessive. The clones under Fox's command were no strangers to the grim realities of their role. Unlike their brethren on the battlefields, the Coruscant Guard faced enemies that were not droid armies but rather the Republic's own citizens, politicians, and shadowy factions. This bred a culture of suspicion and a readiness to act decisively against perceived threats. Over time, this approach hardened the Guard, turning them into an instrument of fear and control within the Republic's capital. One of the most infamous moments in Fox's career was his encounter with Ahsoka Tano during her framing for the bombing of the Jedi Temple. The events surrounding this incident highlight the ruthless efficiency of the Coruscant Guard and Fox's unwavering commitment to his duty. When Tano, a Jedi Padawan, became a fugitive, the Guard was deployed to capture her. Fox's response to the situation was cold and methodical, prioritizing the mission over personal feelings or doubts about her guilt. His men pursued Tano relentlessly through the depths of Coruscant, treating her as a dangerous criminal rather than a valued ally of the Republic. Fox's loyalty to the chain of command and his interpretation of duty meant that he rarely questioned orders, even when they involved turning against individuals who had previously been considered allies. This unflinching adherence to orders can be seen as both a strength and a flaw, as it demonstrated his commitment to maintaining order, but also revealed a lack of moral flexibility. His decision to arrest Tano without hesitation, even in the face of her protests of innocence, painted him as a figure who valued protocol over personal conviction. The Coruscant Guard's brutality under Fox's leadership was not limited to high-profile cases involving Jedi or political figures. On a daily basis, the Guard engaged with the seedy underbelly of Coruscant, dealing with criminal syndicates, rogue elements, and political agitators. Their methods often involved heavy-handed tactics, including intimidation, coercion, and, at times, outright violence. For the residents of Coruscant's lower levels, the Guard was less a protective force and more an occupying presence that enforced the Republic's will with an iron fist. These methods were not without justification from Fox's perspective. Coruscant was a powder keg of conflicting interests, with threats that could destabilize the entire Republic. The Guard's role was to prevent chaos from erupting in the heart of galactic governance. Fox viewed any leniency or hesitation as a potential risk to the Republic's stability, which in his eyes justified the Guard's harsh approach. Yet this very stance alienated many, breeding resentment among the populace and raising ethical questions about the cost of security. Fox's leadership style and the Guard's reputation for brutality also highlighted the darker side of the Republic during the Clone Wars. While the Republic was ostensibly fighting for democracy and freedom against the authoritarian rule of the Separatists, the actions of the Coruscant Guard revealed a hypocritical undercurrent. The Guard's suppression of dissent and their often ruthless enforcement of order reflected the very authoritarianism the Republic claimed to oppose. This duality was a constant undercurrent in the Clone Wars, with Fox and the Coruscant Guard embodying the moral compromises that came with war. The Guard's brutality was further amplified by the increasing influence of Chancellor Palpatine. As Palpatine consolidated power and moved towards his ultimate goal of establishing the Galactic Empire, the Coruscant Guard became an extension of his authoritarian rule. Fox and his men found themselves enforcing decrees and orders that aligned more with Palpatine's vision of control than with the Republic's founding principles. This shift in their role was subtle at first, but became more apparent as the war progressed. Commander Fox's unwavering dedication to duty, coupled with the Guard's ruthless methods, painted a complex picture of a soldier bound by loyalty to a system that was increasingly flawed. His character invites reflection on the nature of authority, the cost of security, and the moral compromises inherent in governance during times of crisis. As the Clone Wars raged on, Fox and the Coruscant Guard stood as a reminder that the lines between protector and oppressor, hero and villain, were often not as clear as the Republic's ideals suggested. At the heart of Fox's story is the tension between duty and morality, a conflict that defines many soldiers in times of war. His actions were not driven by malice or ambition, but by a belief in the necessity of order and the importance of following orders. Yet this very commitment led him down a path where justice and fairness were often sacrificed in the name of security. The brutality of the Coruscant Guard under his command serves as a stark illustration of the dangers of unbridled authority and the ethical dilemmas that arise when the pursuit of peace comes at the cost of freedom and humanity. Fox's legacy within the Star Wars universe is one of complexity and controversy. He is neither wholly villainous nor entirely heroic, but exists in a morally ambiguous space that reflects the broader themes of the Clone Wars. His story, and that of the Coruscant Guard, raises important questions about the balance between security and liberty, the role of the military in civil governance, and the human cost of maintaining order in an inherently chaotic galaxy. The Coruscant Guard's actions under Fox's leadership are a microcosm of the broader challenges faced by the Republic during the Clone Wars. As the war pushed the Republic towards authoritarianism, the Guard became both a symbol of its strength and a warning of its potential downfall. Fox's decisions, shaped by duty and the harsh realities of his role, highlight the personal and ethical struggles that come with wielding power in a time of crisis. Fox's death at the hands of Darth Vader, after the rise of the Empire, serves as a grim conclusion to his story. It symbolizes the ultimate betrayal of the clones, who had been instrumental in the Republic's survival, only to be cast aside once their purpose was fulfilled. In Fox's final moments, the brutality that defined his career comes full circle, as he becomes a victim of the very system he fought to uphold. His end is a poignant reminder of the impermanence of power and the tragic cost of unwavering loyalty to a flawed cause. The Coruscant Guard's reputation for brutality under Commander Fox was not merely a byproduct of individual actions, but a reflection of the Republic's descent into authoritarian measures during the Clone Wars. Fox himself was emblematic of this shift, a clone bred for obedience, thrust into a role where the definition of justice often aligned more with enforcing control than upholding fairness. As the war pressed on, the Republic's values, once held as sacrosanct, began to crumble under the weight of pragmatism and fear. The Coruscant Guard, led by Fox, was both the executor and the embodiment of this transformation. The Guard's operations extended beyond high-profile political arrests or confrontations with Jedi. They were the enforcers of martial law when necessary, a deterrent to political dissent, and the front line against any perceived internal threats. In the underworld of Coruscant, where crime syndicates like the Pike Syndicate and Black Sun thrived, the Guard played a relentless role. Their methods were as ruthless as the criminals they pursued. The lower levels of Coruscant, often neglected and unseen by the elites who lived in the higher, more prosperous layers of the city, became battlegrounds of brutality. Fox's command style ensured that his men were uncompromising, a trait that permeated every layer of the Guard's structure. The unit acted as a hammer rather than a scalpel, often smashing through obstacles rather than delicately resolving conflicts. This approach, while effective in some instances, often led to collateral damage both in terms of innocent lives and the Republic's moral standing. The Guard's actions bred resentment and fear among Coruscant's populace, with many viewing them as oppressors rather than protectors. This perception was further cemented by their visible association with the increasingly authoritarian policies of Chancellor Palpatine. Palpatine's manipulation of the Clone Wars as a tool to consolidate power was masterful, and the Coruscant Guard became an essential instrument in his strategy. Under the guise of protecting the Republic, they enforced curfews, suppressed protests, and carried out arrests of political dissidents. Fox, like many of his brethren, was blind to the larger machinations at play. His unwavering loyalty to the Republic and its chancellor prevented him from seeing how his actions were serving the darker ambitions of Palpatine. In many ways, Fox's rigid adherence to duty made him the perfect pawn in Palpatine's game, a tool to enforce order while eroding the very freedoms the Republic claimed to champion. The fallout from the Jedi Temple bombing further showcased the Guard's harsh methods. The hunt for Ahsoka Tano not only demonstrated Fox's determination, but also highlighted the Republic's willingness to cast aside its allies in the face of uncertainty. Despite Tano's previous service and loyalty, she was treated as a fugitive without substantial evidence, a stark indication of the Republic's growing paranoia. Fox, in his pursuit, was relentless, dispatching his forces across the vast, multi-layered city planet. For the Guard, the mission was clear: apprehend the accused at all costs, irrespective of personal doubts or past alliances. Fox's loyalty to the Republic's cause was not merely a professional obligation, it was a deeply ingrained part of his identity as a clone. Clones were engineered to follow orders without question, a design meant to ensure the Republic's survival against the separatist threat. However, this same conditioning made them vulnerable to exploitation by those in power. Fox's inability or unwillingness to question the morality of his orders highlights a central tragedy of the clone army. They were bred for loyalty and efficiency, but these very traits were weaponized to serve a corrupting regime. As the Clone Wars drew to a close, the Coruscant Guard's role became even more sinister. With Order 66 marking the ultimate betrayal of the Jedi, the Guard played an integral part in eliminating those who once stood as defenders of peace. The fall of the Jedi marked a turning point, not only for the Republic but for Fox and his men. The Republic they had sworn to protect transformed into the Galactic Empire, and their role shifted from guardians of democracy to enforcers of tyranny. Fox's death at the hands of Darth Vader was the culmination of his tragic arc. Vader, once Anakin Skywalker, had fought alongside the clones and trusted their capabilities. However, in the new order of the Empire, loyalty was a commodity that could be discarded when it was no longer useful. Fox's demise was not only a personal tragedy, but also a symbolic end for the Coruscant Guard as they had once existed. The clones who had given everything for the Republic were systematically replaced by a new breed of soldiers, those who owed their loyalty directly to the Emperor, without the burden of a past tied to a fallen Republic. The Coruscant Guard's legacy is a cautionary tale about the dangers of absolute authority and the moral compromises made in the name of security. Under Fox's leadership, the Guard achieved a level of efficiency and control that was unparalleled, but at a tremendous cost. Their actions, though often justified as necessary for the greater good, left a trail of fear, resentment, and broken trust. For many citizens of Coruscant, the Guard was a constant reminder of the Republic's failure to live up to its ideals and of the heavy price of war. Fox's story, intertwined with that of the Guard, serves as a reflection on the broader themes of the Star Wars saga. It illustrates the complexities of loyalty, the moral ambiguity of wartime decisions, and the ease with which noble causes can be corrupted. The Coruscant Guard, under Fox's command, were neither heroes nor villains in the traditional sense, but rather products of a system that demanded unwavering obedience and rewarded ruthlessness. Their actions, and the consequences thereof, continue to resonate as a powerful narrative about the cost of peace in a galaxy at war. Fox's final moments, standing before Vader, encapsulate the ultimate futility of his efforts. Despite his service and sacrifices, he was discarded by the very system he had sought to uphold. His death was swift and merciless, a stark reminder of the brutal efficiency that had defined his own career. In the end, Commander Fox, like many of his clone brethren, was a casualty of a conflict that transcended the battlefield, a conflict of ideals, power, and control that would shape the galaxy for generations to come. The Coruscant Guard's brutality under Fox's leadership was a microcosm of the Republic's descent into authoritarianism. Their actions, justified as necessary for the preservation of order, often skirted the boundaries of morality and legality. Fox's legacy, and that of the Guard, is one of complex dualities: protectors who became oppressors, soldiers who became enforcers of tyranny, and loyal servants who were ultimately betrayed by the very system they had fought to preserve. Their story is a powerful reminder of the delicate balance between security and freedom, and the dire consequences when that balance is lost.